keep in mind that on that
Thanks,
too,
Jeff.
we are recording the meeting tonight, so we got to be nice. Anyway, our speaker tonight is part two of Adrian Bradley's presentation about astrophotography and a book that he is writing on. We all know Adrian and many of the things that he's into, but I'm kind of curious if Adrian maybe is into something or has some interest that we don't know about.
Well, let's see. Photography, you know about it. I guess daytime photography. I recently took a paid position. It was just for a week to shoot the Ann Arbor Film Festival. So it was still dark, but we had to get pictures of the filmmakers and turn them in. And they said I did a pretty good job. So I'll be back next year doing that. Other than that, working with computers, I graduated from here in '97 in computer engineering. And for those of you that know U of M Computer Aided Engineering Network, I worked for them for quite some time in my long and illustrious career of being a student. It took me about 7 years, but I finally got out, got the degree, and I've been working in that field of IT ever since. So it pays for my hobby.
And how have you been doing in bowling?
And trying to, not so sure if I really want to go back, but I agreed because my boss's boss wanted me to come to Vegas to bowl. And it's going to be during the lunar eclipse that's in May. So don't be like me and be a dummy. Go out there and look at that lunar eclipse. I'll be sitting in a room probably like this, waiting on our turn to bowl. And there's going to be a red moon in the sky that I can't get a picture of unless I sneak out. So,
Yeah.
but I do have a star themed bowling ball. I have two of them, the Crux, which is the constellation in the south. Then I have the Crux Prime, which there is no such constellation, but it has Crux in it. Those are my only two star themed bowling balls.
Very cool. Well, anyway, with that, take it away, Adrian.
All right, here we go. It's always an adventure to share the screen. There's my book presentation. And I should be able to start it by hitting the F5 button.
Do some updates. That'd be a nice.
I would, but I highly recommend when you're getting ready to do something with your computer, don't do updates instead because it'll blow things away. Yeah. So what you're looking at is my I know I can walk around. That's fun to do. You're looking at the front cover for the book that I want to write about Point of Barques Lighthouse Park at night. And that's one of the images. Most of you can recognize the constellation that you see next to it, Cassiopeia. This is facing north with Lake Huron to the right of you and wrapping around behind the lighthouse. And you saw plenty of pictures of it. If you were here last month, you saw the slideshow with a lot of pictures featuring this lighthouse. So let's see if this works. So why write a book? I got inspired to write the book after I think seeing some other books that people were publishing and books that some other astronomers were doing. In one of the Tuesday night presentation things that I do for Explore Scientific, I share my images there. There's both professional and amateur astronomers from different parts of the globe sharing images and sharing their craft. And I said, why not? I'll start a book. Let's see what happens. Also, as you can see up there, the true Bortle 3 zone, and I'm going to show you with a couple of maps how it just happens to be located in an area in the thumb with a slightly darker sky than like everything else around it. It's pretty magical place. And it is a true Bortle 3 zone. I call it a beautiful park. You'll see later, though, if you're a visual astronomer, you may not think it's quite as beautiful, but the sky still has that contrast in it. And my goal is to bring some copies of the book to the people that are taking care of the park and say, this is what the park looks like at night. And if you'll have copies of this book, I'd love just getting the word out about it and see what happens. So here are things that you can see when you go to this park. And it's there's a lot of stellar, a lot of things you can use. You don't need a telescope for. I would recommend bringing binoculars. If you do photography, Matthew, bring your camera and aim it in any direction except for the directions where there's an occasional light or two. The Milky Way is visible year round. You do get to see the winter side of the Milky Way here pretty well. Only other place I would say that you can see it better when you go up into a little further north in Michigan, Alcona, where Brian showed me there, around the Osable River, just as beautiful, maybe even a touch darker there. You can go into the UP. It is darker there, and the Milky Way begins to take on a little color. And then where Jim and I are going to go, a Bortle 1 zone, Okie-Tex, that's a whole different experience. Here, you can see structure and shape in the Milky Way pretty easily. You can even image it during nautical twilight. You can actually see the Milky Way beginning to show up. So it is a very good place for that. One of the lowest places as far as going north to see the aurora, you can see it here. And if you remember last week, I had some pictures of the aurora as seen from Aux Barques Lighthouse Park. Sun, moon rises and sets both over water because of the way it's situated. They rise to the east over water, come all the way around, and then set on the other side of the point over water. And then you've got the lighthouse itself. You can frame a lot of good pictures just using the lighthouse, even with the beacons of light. And you'll see in some pictures later, the light scatters outward, goes out toward the lake. So there isn't much light from the lighthouse actually flooding the area. And then if you like being around giant lakes, you have Lake Huron. So here's one of the images. Winter Milky Way photography as Orion rises to the east. Now, the way that I'm sitting here is I'm standing and the lighthouse is right back there where you are. And I'm standing looking straight at the, so of this part of the thumb going down south. So I'm looking south as Orion rises. Similar spot in the summer, or if you, when I actually captured it, it was around this time, but really early in the morning. We call it the summer Milky Way because it's for us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's how the Milky Way looks in the summer months as the sun sets. But in the Southern Hemisphere, it goes high overhead. It's winter, but they get to see both sides of the bulge. Takes on a completely different meaning. So a lot of imagers, landscape, astrophotographers will use the term summer Milky Way, and I even used it here, but that just depends on what region you're in. If you go to different places, it takes on a different meaning. And I think this is a point. I'm not going to play with it though. Yeah, I can. Covered up here, I find out from going to Okie-Tex, there's a few nebula that you can pick off if you go somewhere where it rises higher over the horizon. So the further south and west you go, you've got the lobster, I think it's the lobster nebula and the cat's paw that there's still some haze here, still some light pollution from some areas, including Canada over here, washes it out a bit. But You can see the detail you can get. This is a 30-second exposure, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's more detail here that we can barely see. Maybe up in the UP you can see it, but here, there's what the lighthouse looks like. When you're facing it, you can go to a part of the park where you're seeing the Milky Way rise right here. And there's Lake Huron coming around. This is facing east. I'll say southeast. So before I was standing in front of it, past this tree and pole and out that way. Now I've come back here and I'm facing towards the lighthouse. And this is actually a good representation of kind of how the light from the lighthouse looks. So facing the lighthouse, you get a good look at the Milky Way here. The contrast in the stars is nice. You kind of hide yourself from the lighting that's going on behind here. There's one big light this way, and then there's the red light that you saw here. That red light casts its light on everything. That's why you've got that red. And you've got the red here. So it's a red light that stays on the whole time. Not so bothersome if you're doing imaging. You try and get away from it if you want to observe here. Turn around, and if you get lucky, this was the very next picture that I took in that sequence. I took this picture, like that's cool. Then I turned around and said, I may as well get that while I'm at it. That's what the rest of the park looks like along the lake. And I've taken a few more pictures, but you can see the contrast in the sky here, just all the stars. It's even more impressive if you go there and you take a look. Now, Brian, you've been to Alcona County, you've seen, well, those of us that have been to anything dark, we've seen what an impressive sky looks like. This is a great place to get a feel for what truly dark skies start to look like. And then it just goes in more levels from there. So let's talk about where the park is. Here's a screenshot, and you can see right here in the thumb, Port Hope is here. I'm trying to think, Harbor Beach. You've got Port Sanilac further down. You've got Lexington further down than that. Some of us have gone to Tawas City, a couple of other places, and the area, the only other place that rivals this area, if you find the Osable River up here, which I think this is right here, the Osable, and coming to this part of Michigan, similar darkness, you'll see in the next slide. This little spot right here, this is Port Austin, but there's some light around Port Austin, and there's a couple of pockets, like the Port Crescent State Park is in kind of a pocket where you can see some darkness heading out over Lake Huron, but the contrast is just better. As soon as you get to this part of the thumb where the lighthouse is and you look up, there's a difference. And now you can see why. Out here in the water where you've got your Bortle 3, and if you come here, you notice a difference. If you look back over this part of the thumb in the sky, the clouds have some color underneath them. But you look out over the lake and the clouds start to look dark because it's over the lake. Right here is where Aux Barques Lighthouse is, and you can see it's a darker shade. So it's got similar looks, like this darkness cuts in where there's less light. This, I believe, is Harbor Beach. And you got Port Austin right here. And I forget what's in here. This might be Bad Axe or something in here, even larger town. But you get out here, you're getting away from the light of those neighboring towns. So things you might catch when you come out here. And now we get to see some of the pictures. This is a picture of the zodiacal light from 2021. I think it was around April. And I was surprised to still see it. Now, remember, we had dust storms on Mars, like big dust storms, I think the previous year. And I believe the prevailing theory is that that dust from Mars is fueling the zodiacal light. We thought it was comet dust and other just solar system dust, but now we're thinking it's mostly Martian dust that produces the zodiacal light. Moonrise, like I said, this is coming up over the lake, and using the clouds, I got a little bit of detail here. One of the hardest things to do if you want to do your landscape photography and you want a single shot, this is a challenge for you, Matthew, a single shot with moon detail and everything else in it. Best way to do it is to do it when it's cloudy, but not so cloudy the moon can't be seen. If the moon's peeking through clouds, you can give a shot like this a try. And in a single shot, you may get some detail and some moonlight in your shot. Here's sunrise. This was an artsy picture. It was an attempt at sunrise here. This is sunset. Story behind this sunset was I was on call for my job and I got a call and I ended up on the phone. And while I was on the phone, I was taking pictures. And I think I actually downloaded this picture and sent it to the group while I was on call. My manager says, well, just bring someone in next time if you don't have your laptop. I stayed on the call to try to help, but basically he just said, bring somebody else in. But you can see how beautiful it is when the sun sets this, it gets low and then it drops. Drop below the trees here. This was the place to be to view the partial solar eclipse that we saw in, if I'm not mistaken, it was June. When was that? June or July 2021. You had a part. So I think, okay, it's working. So this was as the solar, and I think my connectors. Wonder if I'm knocking the connector out here. We'll just keep trying. So part of the solar eclipse was happening. Where I'm standing, I'm looking out east and the lighthouse is over here. Tried to get a couple pictures. Not by the dock, it's by the lighthouse still, but the picture that I took, the picture that you saw at the beginning, basically you're seeing it. I just did this and I'm looking out. There were lots of bugs and lots of birds, and the birds were not eating the bugs and the bugs were all around me. But I still took the picture and I still got a few images of it as the sun is rising. That was earlier, that was a little later as the sun was coming up. There were a lot of clouds, so we got lucky to get a few. Lucky to get a few shots of it as the sun was rising. So here's the part about Aux Barques Lighthouse Park that I have to talk about, and it's visual observing. You can see all of the light that you've got going on here. The lighthouse itself. This is a little further back from some of the other images I showed. You got the lighthouse itself, you've got this red light, and you've got other lights that are impeding this part of the park. Over here where I'm standing, probably the darkest part of the park if you're looking to observe without extraneous light coming in. And I think this is actually my last slide. One of the reasons, here's where one of the reasons for me writing the book comes in, because they've got these bright lights. They're yellow. I've actually decolorized this. You can still see North American nebulous here. You can still see the Milky Way pretty well. You can see that these lights shoot out directly towards sea, but trying to visually observe with this in the way would make it a no-go. And if you go further behind me, you get a little further away from the light. You've got some trees. There is that boat launch that I think is out there that you could set up, depending on what you want to observe. But you do have a lot of light that may interfere with your wanting to do visual. Whenever I've been there and things have looked good, you drop back to, this was one of those nights, those two, that those lights weren't on, so it was darker. It was darker when I shot the Aurora, and it was darker. You see the lights aren't on here. That would be tolerable for me, but for seasoned visual observers, all of these streaks would likely be bothersome. And the lighthouse, the period is about 3 seconds or so of light being on. About every 15 seconds, it flashes once, goes off for maybe 5 seconds, flashes again, goes off, and then you got another 15 seconds, and then it repeats. It's a remote control lighthouse. During the summer, someone might be in here, but again, it's a remote control. It's no longer directly lived in. Now, when I took this shot, obviously there's lights in here. May have been someone there, but in looking it up, I found that it was remote, and it's been going strong. Someone did light it up for Christmas. It was ironic. I got there, saw the lights, and then as I was imaging, the lights went off. The Christmas lights went off, just making the lighthouse look again like this. So I don't know if someone saw me out there with my kit and said, oh, we better turn it off, or what they did. But you can see the Aurora here. It's dazzling, looking right northeast. It's a great, and it's a little closer than if you want to go further north in Michigan or even to the UP. This is a good stop. If you've got a pretty good sized storm, if your KP level 5 or 6 or higher, and your magnetometers, the BZ shows south, meaning that Aurora can be visible and can be visible in lower latitudes. If the BZ rating, they call it, is north, KP doesn't matter. The Earth is absorbing the magnetic and the charges, and you're not going to see any Aurora. So Space Weather is a good app for your phone to look at those values and see if it's a good night, possibly a good night for Aurora. But when there are clouds, which if this is all we've got, then there's not much you're going to be able to do. So yeah, that's the dark Canadian Aurora. So that's the cover of the book. And what time is it? Is 8 o'clock?
We're not.
Yeah, I will go ahead and let's see if I've got. I think I opened this book already. All right, so just a couple of pictures from the book. This is, yeah, I could update now if I felt like it. Here, I'll just click right there. And the way that the book's going to flow is you start out with what you see with the eyes, what you see when you take a picture. If you go there during the day, and this is winter, this is how the lighthouse looks as you're pulling into one of the parking lots. Stay there at night, and this is what you could be in for. Now, this is if the lights aren't running behind me with the building that's over here.
Adrian, Zoomers can't see what's on the screen.
Okay. Oh, that's because I'm not sharing this. Here, we'll stop the share and reshare the book. Share. All right. Now you can see what's on the screen.
There we go.
So that's the front cover. And the first few pages just sort of build up, like I was saying, they sort of build up as you're getting there visually, what you see when you take the image. I've done a lot of imaging with a bunch of snow on the ground. So wear boots, wear waterproof boots. You may want to wear a snowsuit if you feel like it. I've never ventured out onto the lake when it's frozen. If it's just me by myself, I don't feel like falling through the lake or something else going wrong. Yeah, it might ruin my night. So don't want to have a ruined night or worse. And I still don't know. I haven't knocked on the door here because I figure I'm there to get images and get out. I'm not there to disturb someone's sleep if somebody's in this inn. So I don't know, Don, you have a question?
Are you self?
Nope, I'm going to be looking. I'm looking for an editor because I'd like to have this looked over and put together. Then, talk to a couple different publishers. My idea is to work with someone to get the book printed. And then
Expect or just
I'm starting out with being sold into museums here and then just bringing them with me, just starting out with all the various astronomy groups that I'm a part
Maybe you
of.
should also talk to the International Dark Light Association, Dark Sky Association. I'm bet they'd be happy to get help with this.
I'll talk to Sally Uwe. I mean, I sent her some pictures of various Bortle zones, and they actually used them in one of the email communications that they sent. So I think Sally Uwe is our contact for that, right? Or is that a different?
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I'll send her a copy of this book or some pages of it. That's a great idea. Because this is when most people see the lighthouse. They go there during the day or they go camping during the summer, but it takes on a whole new look at night. So, and I won't show the entire book, but there's different pictures I've taken at different parts of the at just different times, and I looked for some pictures where there was some symmetry. During the day, I shot up at that number 1857 when supposedly this lighthouse was built. I think it's been repaired or rebuilt since then. That's some stuff that I would include here. And then looking up at the lighthouse and seeing the dipper right above it. So that was framed on purpose. And let's see, there'll be some few changes I'll need to make, but this is one of those where my daytime photography came in handy and catching the surf. The surf I've heard can get bigger here, get up to the point where it's splashing over shore halfway up the lighthouse or more. But I've never seen the surf much higher than this whenever I've gone. But I've heard some stories about it, and I don't doubt that they could be true. And then you've seen this picture. This one would make a good composite if I put the full moon in here. But that's a sort of light, and that's the boat launch, I believe. And just somewhere in here, there's some. So this is the part where I'm talking to moon. I'll look for another aurora picture here. So I'm quite sure I have one. when the light's blaring. You've seen this area. This is what happens if the light is so bright, it lights that entire area up. You may have seen this pavilion in one of my other shots. The light extends all the way to the pavilion. So hopefully they haven't been turning it on when I've gone out there, but it hasn't always been the best of times to go because it gets cloudy. But I'd like to see them leave this light off forever. Yeah, that's why going to International Dark Sky Association is a great idea, because they may be able to do that. And here we'll leak this photo. That's the lighthouse, and that's the aurora the night that I saw it in the solstice. You see this red light here? That's the red light that the camera's picking up. This was not taken with a modified camera. It was stock at the time. I've since changed it to modify for H alpha light, but that's how much red light, and it always paints the lighthouse whenever you're seeing it. You can barely see it with your eyes, but when you take a photo, it paints the lighthouse. And now notice no lights here. And that's the way that we want it. When the lights are blaring, I'd have to roll all the way back, and that's what the aurora looks like. I've actually edited this photo, and you can see all of the rocks and everything that are over here. So I may switch that up. But yeah, so when the lights are on, I cast a shadow. This could easily have been the title, but I wanted the lighthouse itself as a part of the title.
Hey, Adrian, that shot with both the lighthouse and that one. Is that a single shot or is that a composite? I was just surprised you can get both. Such a broad.
That is a single shot. It's a single 30-second shot. There's some editing done to brighten some areas. You know, then part of the reason you can tell it's a single shot is that this is overexposed, 30 seconds. But yeah, single shot, Canon 6D. And I think I shot at, I want to say I shot at ISO 6400 f2.8. For those of you that know those camera settings, that's what I used. And here you've got, if there was a better way for me to frame this, I would have Aurora and Milky Way in the same shot. If I get another chance to shoot this with now that the camera's modified, pretty sure I can do some better work with this. This is the summer triangle, and I ought to frame this a little better with the summer triangle. If you've got really good eyes, you can tell that's the double cluster sitting on the border of the Milky Way and the aurora here. But this was my favorite shot, but anytime I shared it, there wasn't much. And then, you know, there's a panorama that's just waiting. All of these colors, that's how active the aurora was. All of those colors showed up. The greens down here, and then you had the reds and even the purples. So those are pictures that I'm looking to feature in the book to show the various the various things that you can see from this park, and hopefully just sort of bring awareness to it that it actually makes a good dark sky park. I don't know what we can do about all the lights that are there, but as far as just visiting, if you go visit during the summer and just take a look up there, it's quite a nice sky, and complete contrast to what you'll see here in Ann Arbor.
Adrian?
Yes.
Norbert here.
Yeah.
I've been there a few times myself. I accidentally encountered a brass era car show at that lighthouse once. It was
Okay.
a whole bunch of old cars from like the 1910s and 20s, but it was a daytime event. But it's so well out of the way, and because you're up at the tip of the thumb, it's not on the way to anything. I guess is it Michigan Highway 25 is the only two-lane
Yes.
road out that way.
Yep.
are the nearest accommodations in like Port Austin? Because you drive up there in one swoop and then drive back home, don't you?
Yeah, you could, I think Port Hope shuts down. Harbor
but-
Beach
But Port
might
Austin,
shut down.
is there a hotel there? I have to check that out.
I would check Port Austin. Yeah, because that's another, I want to say it's 20 minutes to Port Austin from there.
Okay,
Yeah,
So
I would go
it is-
there as opposed to going back down the Thumb, because a lot of those places, I think you have to get to Port Sanilac before you have a chance
yeah,
of a
that's a
hotel,
hike.
and that's another half hour out of
Yeah.
the way.
It's amazing how sparsely populated that corner of the state is. It's quite beautiful.
Same sort of thing. Yeah, go northwest or west for a hotel coming off of there, and not south or back down.
Is there a
So-
campground, Adrian? Is there a campground that's part of the park?
There is. Yep, Don answered yes. I've seen all the campers out there during the summer. And Don's camped there. So yeah, there is a campground. You can actually camp. One of the areas that I had showed where I was looking out at the Milky Way over the water south during the summer, campers, when they open the gates, campers are all in that area. They don't go quite that far toward the water, but there are campers there.
I go to Port. Third,
Uh,
State Park.
Yeah.
So I go over there, camp for the night.
yeah. And if there wasn't so much light, you'd observe, you could just do it all at this park, because it's, yeah, it's the only downside to the lighthouse is that it's not really designed, it's not designed as a dark sky park, whereas Port Crescent is. So they've got a little area devoid of light so you can observe. But I wish they would, because the contrast there is excellent. And like out of the pictures. There you go. Yeah, so let's see, go in the chat. Thank you, Lynn. Jeff's been there during the summer. So's Don, a few of you've been there. And John, Port Austin has, so you're 20 minutes or so from Port Austin. You can visit the Dark Sky Park there. It's not bad. I find it on its worst nights, you can just drive an hour south and go to Lake Hudson and see a very similar sky. On its better nights, you've got more contrast. You've got more of the sky that's dark enough to do, especially if you go to the beach at Port Crescent. If you there's the observing area, and then there's the beach. And looking north, it's fine. If you look towards the south, where the ecliptic comes over, you've got some neighboring towns light to contend with over there. But setting up on the beach at Port Austin might not be a bad idea.
So Adrian, are you up all night and then driving home at 5 a.m. in the morning? Is it a 2-hour drive home for you?
Yeah, that's why I haven't done it in a while, because that
Yeah,
drive started
that's
to wear
why-
on me.
That's why I asked about the accommodations. That's quite a hike and a little risky if you ask me, but I admire your spirit and your pictures are beautiful.
Thank you, Norb. Hopefully they have some scientific merit. I like to cover both. Sometimes I do shoot for the beauty. Other times I'm trying to see what nebula I can get along the plane of the galaxy and try to have it visible. But yeah, I haven't done this in a while. I've stopped at Port Sanilac, and then now lately I've just, because the moon is out, I don't go as far. The moon's bright enough, so just go somewhere over some water, shoot, see what you can get. Or I'll just pull out the big camera and I'll shoot with that. All right, any other questions? I think this is a good place to stop the presentation, and I'll keep everybody abreast on, I've got some great suggestions for y'all for who to talk to about the book. And start talking and see how soon I can get this thing edited and published. Thank you. I'm gonna close. How do I close the chat window?
Do you have any other questions for Adrian?
Yeah, close this chat window. 15, 20, I started to lose count, especially in 2021. I'd drive back almost every new moon. I've actually been there over the last couple months. I took a picture of a nautical twilight winter Milky Way starting to form, and then all the clouds came in, so I drove home after that. Matthew.
Do you mean 36 shots?
Not yet. That's on the list to try. Okie will probably be the first place I actually try a time lapse, because I've already done a lot of single shots there. But yeah, the idea like Brian has done, where you follow the Milky Way as it goes, or you shoot in a single area and watch it sweep over like this. We'll figure out which one to try. That would be a good place to do it. And if there's Aurora there, Ani has suggested doing those time-lapse videos for the Aurora. When I saw it, it was kind of a lucky break, because I got there at 3 a.m. when the moon set. I had heard that other photographers had given up. I happened to get there and I see in the distance, the sky is moving, and I say, there's Aurora. So I just set up the camera and just started firing shots. So.
Adrian, this is John Walbank. I just want to mention I'm also the vice president of the Brighton Art Guild. I deal with a lot of art and a lot of photography, and I am just extraordinarily impressed at your artistic eye. You have just an artistic eye. There's no there's no other way to explain it. You do remarkable work. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll always say that knowing what's in the sky helps to figure out how you want to frame it. I've looked at some processed images. I've looked at some good, what we call landscape astrophotography or nightscapes. And the ones that I like the most, like one of the ones you'll see in Brian's calendar, there's detail there. There's stuff that's real. And I like to try and blend the beauty of it with something that's real and put the two together. So I appreciate that, John. Maybe I'll have to send some prints out your way and see what happens with those.
Yeah, but Adrian, what was when was the first time you came out to an open house?
I don't remember. Was it 6
Wasn't
years
that
ago?
long ago?
7? How
Wasn't
many
that
years ago?
long ago?
6 years?
Wasn't
Maybe.
wasn't
Well,
that
it
long
was-
ago?
It was. I don't
Wasn't
think it was 10. It may have been. It may have been somewhere around 7 or 8. I don't remember.
Yeah. No,
Years
it
have been
was
flying.
only actually, Adrian, it was only about 5 or 6 years ago. And what an imagination. Just, I mean, what intellect and imagination. It's just so extraordinary.
Well, it didn't come from zero. I was age 7 looking up the Big Dipper. And as you know, as I looked at the night sky, I may not have known exactly what's up there, but there was always an interest. I think just where I was in life at the time enabled that whole thing to just sort of blow up. And I hyper focused in on it. Then when I learned I was gifted a camera, learned how to use it, and just year after year, just sort of continued to see what I could do with it. And it really did start to explode for me when I decided I was going to stop making images to try and post online to see how many likes I would get, and instead post images of things I wanted to capture and enjoy for myself and share with others what I'm seeing, looking at it from more of an astronomy side and not look at this pretty image. you know, because there's plenty of folks that can process the heck out of an image. They can do composites. One of my online friends who's good at it, named Mary Beth Kaczynski, her work on Aurora is everywhere, but she recently traveled from Michigan all the way to Wyoming because it was going to be too cloudy in Michigan. So she made that long drive with a couple other people and she was rewarded. She got some good Aurora pictures. So yeah, no, not me. I'm gonna work a regular job, and you know, I'll take my opportunities when they come. But some of the folks that have been doing it for a while travel all over and they run into problems too. The clouds come there too. So it does happen. But thank you, John. Appreciate it. And I will ask this question before we turn it back over because we got a lot of meeting left. For GLAC, will vendor sales be something to consider for the upcoming astronomy at the beach? Is that something we should talk about next meeting?
Yes, we talked about it last meeting, Adrian. And
Okay,
yes, we are exploring vendor opportunities at this time.
okay, because that might be an opportunity to sell for those of us that have some of this work. It may be another opportunity to sell some of that work. Those of you that would like some of the pictures, of course, I need to print these things out. But when I do, and when Matthew prints his out, they can be for display at Astronomy at the Beach.
Well, you know, Adrian Bryan has been offering his images for some time, and I think he plans to again. And I think that's a valuable part of the activity. So yes, keep in touch.
Yep, I will credit Brian as being one of the mentors for how I design my images. Brian's got some amazing lakeside Milky Way shots, some countryside Milky Way shots. The process that I use, probably similar to what you do. I don't know if you do a lot of composites, Brian, but you know, that sometimes you stack two images using your software. You take an image so that the foreground looks good. You take an image so that you've exposed for the sky, and you merge the two together using some sort of software, usually Photoshop or something like that. Sometimes I don't have the time for that. So I figure out what exposure is going to get me everything I want in one image. And then I can go into Photoshop and pull out detail from one or the other. And that's what I do a lot of. That way I've got a single shot.
Adrian, I'm not sure why you're still standing there. I checked space weather a few hours ago, and the KP index was like 5 or 6, and the auroral circle looked pretty active. So it's supposed to be clearing up that way too, I guess.
Let's go. I think, well, that means this meeting is over. But there's a setting though. I listened to see if you looked at the BZ, and we're going to do this right now in front of you before we talk about okay, I have KP2
Okay.
right now and an index. No one can see this phone. The BZ is north, 501 north. So unless this is old data, this is telling me to stay at home. But
Okay.
if the data changes, I'll consider it. And then my astospheric, I know, by the way, I'm demonstrating some of the things I use for chasing aurora. Jack's got it too. It is going to clear up nicely in that area. The cloud bank is going to leave that part of the thumb first. So if I wanted to shoot a Milky Way rise tonight would be a good time to do it, because it's going to clear up. There's the cloud bank, and it's going southeast and leaving this dark area clear. So that is something for me to consider. Of course, this is my other camera. I'd have to go home and get the
If you got a second, can you pull up the auroral circle from space weather, or is that out of?
let's go. to
This is about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I think I looked and it was looking pretty active.
space weather. Where should, okay, yeah, look, I once had my image featured on space weather, long time ago. Those light pillars that I took at Alcona County Park. Okay, so where is Zoom? If I do this, we're done. Oh, there's the Aurora Circle. So I'm gonna share space weather. Yeah, but they can't see it on the on Zoom now. You can see it. There's the Aurora Circle right
Oh,
now.
that's diminished a lot from just a few hours ago.
Yeah, I think the
Oh, wow.
storm disappeared. There
Yep.
you go.
Well, it shows you just how quickly these forecasts can change and unexpectedly flare up on you.
So there's the two. So you're seeing KP2 quiet. You're seeing the auroral halo where we live just dried up. And look at this. You've got magnetic field indicators. That indicator says you're not going to see a thing unless you're standing right under it. You know, over here, in this part of Canada, it's the only place you're going to see it. And it's probably light as it is if you stand there. Because the magnetic field, it's basically set to where any particles coming from the sun are being absorbed. Now, when this says south, the auroral field is usually bigger and more likely to be visible from a little place like here. Looking out, it's more likely to be visible. When this comes down, KP index gets to 5 or 6. The auroral circle comes to about here. And this goes south and it goes 5 or 10. I think when I shot that, the BZ was as far low as 25. But it was a good night and I stumbled upon it. I didn't actually plan it. I was just there to shoot the Milky Way and got really lucky. It was solstice, it was equinox day. And that happened. So sometimes you stumble into it.
Well, thank you for pointing all that out. That's a good source then. And we had a
Yeah.
pretty active week last week, middle of the week, and it was cloudy here in Michigan, of course.
Yep. Whenever you see these numbers get really good, if you're not in Norway or Minnesota, it's going to be cloudy. That's just, and that's the depressing note that I will leave you all with. For once the book comes out, buy the book, enjoy the photos, and it's time for elections, Charlie. I think I'm going to take this out of my mask now. Here. I do have all my boosters, so you should be okay.
Cool.
All right.
Okay. So before Adrian gets too far away, like he's not really leaving anyway, could you use yet another shirt, a hat, or a restaurant gift certificate?
I could use another shirt because as you can see,
Oh, there you go.
got a problem with it. So I could use, I love hoodies. So if you've got a 2XL hoodie, I'll take another one of those.
I will let Doug know.
That way one can be in the washing machine, the other one can be worn.
Regular shirt or sweatshirt if we don't have the hoodie.
Regular
Cool.
long sleeve, thin, regular short.
Cool. Thanks again. Okay. So as Adrian was mentioning, April is the time of our elections. And I am going to attempt here to see if I can put up. That's right. So I got to go to this one. And is the Zoom audience seeing this?
Nope.
Okay.
Cheers.
Now I got to go back to Zoom here, right?
Yep. So now click on share screen. And click on that.
Yeah. There we go. How about now? Okay. So as it turns out, we have had nominations for most of the people that are on this list. I have a question mark after my name because technically I was never nominated. I thought about leaving my name out of there and see if I could get away with it, but I figured I probably wouldn't. So I went ahead and wrote it in, but put a question mark. So I guess I'll accept it if somebody wants to nominate me. It looks like Adrian did, so. The... Isn't the rule supposed to be one more year?
Make it,
Okay, so we got a slight modification there. Is there anybody else that's interested in running for president? There are some prerequisites. You had to have been an officer previously, would be the big one. I don't see anybody jumping on that. So I guess we'll go ahead then and erase. Ah, come on. Yeah. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have got away with that either. So on vice presidents, we did have Adrian Bradley accept a renomination to continue. Jim Forrester, who served very well for us for a long time as vice president, also a previous newsletter editor, said that if we didn't have other positions or nominees, that he would be willing to return. So I took the liberty to write his name in there. I wrote Brian Autumn because I sent Brian an email saying that I thought he would be an excellent vice president. He did not answer that email, but in the traditional lowbrow fashion, if you do not answer or you do not say no, we consider that a yes. So I would be very, very pleased if Brian will allow me to erase that question mark. What do you think, Brian? Excellent. Okay, so we have Brian there. Now, I pulled a similar thing at the beginning of the meeting here, and that was to ask Dave if he would be interested in returning as vice president. Because after all, and I will second that, he has been on a vacation from being vice president. So I tried to sell it that way. And once again, he really didn't say no. He didn't throw anything at me. Accepted, Dave? All right, cool. So guess what? We have filled in the vice presidential candidates. But with that, is there anybody else that's interested in running for vice president?
if you're new to the meeting, there's a rule that if you're new to the meeting, you can't instantly draft you.
I think there's something about you had to be in the club for a year. I believe it is. Yeah, so.
But I think I was in the club a year.
No, I think it was, yeah. Might have been a little longer than that, so. Okay, well, I'm not hearing any other candidates there. We've all heard what Doug Scoble has said, that he understands if somebody else that is more local and could attend meetings regularly was willing to take over that job, that he would concede that, but that apparently hasn't happened. Doug is back in Traverse City, by the way, in case that people didn't know. So he said that he would accept a renomination, which is why I put him on there. But is there anybody else that's interested in running for treasurer?
If I'm already treasurer, leave it at that. Too much money.
So I am hearing
Yeah.
nobody there. Jack Brisbane also said that he would continue as observatory director. Oh, I thought we already had. Seconded. Sounds like he accepted. Is there anybody else that's interested in running for observatory director? Okay, ooh, yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna need her.
So,
Slowly trying to learn the was refractor. They've got a pretty impressive one.
really? Oh. So I don't think I'm hearing anything. So I'll go ahead and do that. Amy, whoa, sorry about that, Amy. I cannot believe I didn't see that. Amy Cantu said that she would be willing to continue as newsletter editor. Okay. she's not here to accept, but we're not giving her a choice, so. But is there anybody else that's interested in running for newsletter editor? She is. Yep. Okay. So we have our latest officer to join the crew, the officer position we created a couple years ago, I guess it was, online coordinator, which Jeff has done a very, very good job serving in. He is willing to continue that, and thank God or we'd have a real problem here. I support that. Yep. And he's not headed for the door or anything. So with that, is there anybody else that's interested in running for online coordinator? There are some qualifications of that one too, so. But again, I'm not hearing anybody. And same thing with webmaster, Krishna Rayo really has not said anything that he doesn't want to continue. There's only a certain number of people that are really qualified to do that.
Continue.
Yep. And I'm going to support that. And also another thing that we sort of have in this club, if you're not at a meeting, you're a particular target for an officer nomination since you can't defend yourself. We haven't pulled that in a while, but just be aware. We could pull that one. So anybody else want to nominate somebody or run for webmaster? Okay. I'm seeing none. So we do have a complete slate of candidates here. So I would entertain a motion to accept the slate as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Notice how Doug was quick to do that. He'd make a really good vice president.
I will lurk, continue to lurk, and look for the occasional possible speaker.
If I'm not
Besides,
mistaken-
I'm definitely here to defend myself. I know the lowbrow lesson. He who
Exactly.
estimates his boss.
And every so often I take a shot at Doug Warshow anyway, and I think I might have this time too. So I kind of anticipated that he wouldn't want to do it at least at this time. Anyway, so with that, with a show of,
If we're still keeping the mailbox, I will handle that unless someone else wants to take over.
much appreciated. Yeah, I think we are going to keep that. I didn't see any groundswell of saying, no, we should get rid of it. So a couple more price increases and we might change our mind, but not yet. So with that, with an eye or show of hands, whichever way you want to express it, everybody in favor of accepting the slate?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. So with that, I do have just a couple of other things. I was contacted recently by Westland Library, a place where we've done some astronomy events a couple of times at least, could even be 3. I remember, Don, you did a nice presentation. I think that's where you maybe did your first New Horizons presentation. So anyway, they would like us to come back. It sounds like from the description that they're mostly interested in some type of a star party kind of event. They are completely, yeah, go ahead, Don.
They turn off the lights.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a very nice venue. The people were nice. It was convenient. It wasn't really as bright as I expected. I mean, it's, urban environment, but it was usable. Yeah, yeah. And that's what, I forget the contact's name now, but that's what she was saying. Is there anything, because they're completely wide open as far as when. They would just like it to be sometime, like this summerish kind of thing. But that's what she asked. Is there any kind of things going on? And she probably remembered before because we had Jupiter and Saturn fairly close together.
Schedule something for August when they're actually going to be in the sky during that time. I don't know if they're in July. I know they're rising early, like with the galactic core. They're all coming up at the same time.
Yep.
July, late June at the earliest, they might be in the sky at sunset.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was going to look at that and see, how that lines up for us. So The other thing is we're still trying to come up with a policy as far as doing a members only night open house. And that's going to be one of my questions to the Westland is what are their safety precautions? And I'm hoping there's an alignment between ours and theirs. I'm also hoping that by the time we get to it, that maybe things are even better than what they are now, but sometimes I can be an over optimist, so we'll see how that goes. But I will be contacting her in the next few days and let her know it's a goal and that we're working on a time that we could actually do it and see if that works for them. And again, going over the safety protocols. So, and then we also had a request from Emerson Library for an event on June 6th. And with that, I think Brian had some things that he wanted to say about that.
Okay.
It's got to get turned on.
Okay, hello, Zoomers. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Got to get it pretty close.
Okay, how's that? All right, so I got 3 announcements for things going on, May, June, July. Okay, May 5th, Amy is running an event through the Ann Arbor Public Library, a star party for library patrons and anybody else who wants to come. And it's going to be on May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo. We will not be serving margaritas.
Ah,
No,
poop.
no salsa, no chips. But and I will be completely sober. I'll be putting on the show with my special EAA set up with the camera, the telescope, with a big screen, and we'll look at all the cool stuff and project live pictures of space. That's on Cinco de Mayo. So if you want to come heckle me or help with crowd control, it's going to be at an odd location. It's going to be over off of near Charlie's house in Scioto Township. It's off of Jackson Road. Okay. West of, well, it's not far from the climbing wall, east of there and one of the housing communities back there, but it's south of Jackson Road.
That co-housing area?
Yes, not far from the
Gotcha.
co-housing area.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of in between co-housing and the car dealerships,
I guess I better be there then, huh?
Yeah, you can walk. You
Yeah,
can walk over.
Well,
So that's May 5th, and we'll be putting it out. There'll be an email, and it's in the newsletter as well.
I might, if I think about it, I might talk about possibly Broward Nature Preserve. I don't know how far away it is, but that's even further removed from the light.
Well, this is a building that the Ann Arbor Library owns.
oh,
So they wanted to have it. Yeah, the Ann Arbor Library owns a building there. And so it's on just off of Jackson Road, west of Zeeb. I'm sorry, just east of Zeeb.
Okay.
right.
Just east of Zeeb. Yeah. So anyhow, that's on Cinco de Mayo. But the more important thing is on June 6th is a Monday. And Emerson School has invited us to do an astronomy presentation for a Monday morning. All the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, 65 of them. So we have 65 very excited and energetic youngsters who want to hear about astronomy. So I need volunteers because what we're thinking of doing is dividing the group up into 3 and then rotating them through 3 stations. I'll do one station with my space pictures, and then maybe we'll have another station if it's clear outside with telescopes to look at the sunspots or hydrogen alpha. And then third, maybe the laser optics hands-on demonstrator.
Which I volunteered to go ahead and do.
So if Charlie can make that, that'd be great. But we need people. Just come up to me afterwards and tell me or email me. But it's on a Monday morning. It's basically the 3 hours until lunchtime at Emerson School. We put on star parties there. As you might imagine, the kids are very bright and very energetic. And Krishna has 3 kids there. 3 of his kids go there.
Wow.
So anyhow, they're very appreciative, and they asked if there be any charge. You know what I should say? A donation to the club, a small donation might not be bad.
Yeah, that's the way I always put it, is that we don't really charge a fee, but we do accept donations if they'd like to.
Okay.
Not required, but if they'd like to, we wouldn't refuse it.
Excellent. I'll talk to my person there, Emily Kwan. She's a teacher. She's taken over for what Tim was a teacher we worked with
mhm.
for many years. He
Yep.
retired. So that's June 6th. Please contact me if you can help out on a Monday morning. So those of us who might be retired would be in the easier position to work on a Monday morning. And then the last thing I have to say would be in July. It's not in July because Camp Burt Shirley is not operating again this summer.
Mm,
I talked to the assistant superintendent. Nope. I got no more details, but doesn't sound good.
So is it because of COVID or is it some other reason?
I am not sure. I could speculate that it's a little bit of COVID, meaning that they couldn't get things started with the recruiting. You know, they do a lot of overseas recruiting for the youngsters, the counselors. And they probably couldn't do that over the winter that they felt they wanted to. And
Yeah, that would shut them down.
so that's really hard. And they're always short of money. But they did invest some things in there. They put up that climbing wall. So hopefully next year, but no Camp Burt Shirley this year.
trying to get back to the Zoom screen, yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Brian. So Brian, probably with me, maybe assisting too, are going to be working here for volunteers for those events. So Don?
Back to the library at Belleville.
Where?
Belleville Library.
Repeat the question for Zoom.
I don't.
No,
I
you
think
were
it's-
working. What's the one you're working on, John? Wallbank. Can you hear me, John? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's a presentation at the Cromaine Library last week in April.
No, yeah,
You were gonna do Belleville.
I was gonna do
Yes, that's
Belleville.
right.
I'll send back a note. In fact, I thought I sent one already, but I'll send another note to the Belleville. I remember they were talking about that same summer time frame, but I'll see what they're doing. I think I got the Belleville one and the Emerson one mixed up because I was thinking, Jeff, you were going to the Belleville one, but you're going to the Emerson one. So I'll give them a call. And I do have some other outreach I'm doing that I'm gonna do a solar scope. I'm gonna use the solar scope from John Coslin, which I've outfitted to one of my go-to mounts now. And do some basic, I'm gonna have a couple of small instruments to look at the sun with. One's gonna be the white light filter and the other one's gonna be the solar scope. I didn't know.
Adrian, solar scope event, get in touch with me, please. I have a solar scope and it's always fun.
Okay, well, I still have the one from John Wallbank, so he had it came with a mount that he was using. I've actually outfitted it to what I think will be a little bit better and easier mount to operate with it, so. Yeah, if anyone wants to use it, I guess you've got between you, John, or me. If anyone is a club member and wants to borrow this H Alpha scope, we'll work something out.
Thanks for the reminder, Don. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll follow up, look at my emails and see if I've sent anything.
And then we have one other event request, and that is for the Michigan Math and Science Scholars, which as probably most of you know, we typically do one or maybe even two of those sessions in the summer, because there's actually two different groups. This request this time only came from just one of the groups. And they are asking if they could do this on August 2nd with a rain date of August 3rd. And Jack said that was perfectly fine with him. I didn't see anything, so I've gone ahead and told Shannon Murphy that that is a goal, and we'll work on that as we get a little bit closer. So again, that's August 2nd and 3rd. For anybody that's not aware of that, that is a group of high schoolers that I think are mostly seniors, but not slave. But anyway, they are kind of preparing to enter college. Not necessarily the U of M, although that'd be cool. Anyway, and there's two U of M professors that have these two different groups, and they come in town for, I guess it's, I think it's 2 weeks. And they do various astronomy kind of things. And then several years ago, they added to their activities a visit out to Peach Mountain, where we basically do like a star party just for them. There's typically, I would say, a minimum of a dozen to a dozen and a half. And we had maybe a couple dozen, couple times. So always a fun event. So when we get closer, we might ask for a few people to help with that. We don't need a lot, but some. So that is all I had.
Charlie, can I
yes.
inquire?
You can.
Have you, I guess I can chat with you. Have you established a July venue date yet?
No, that was another thing you got that email where you had brought that up about the July meeting.
Yeah,
I just-
I'll investigate the university's COVID setup there, because we do have nice big open spaces, and we have Zoom rooms available for your hybrid conferences. I'm certain that most people are aware that the Detroit Observatory across from the hospital is reopened and the renovation is complete. And in going over there, they have a really nice classroom set up for venue with Zoom capabilities and all that stuff there too. So it's quite nice to visit the Detroit Observatory again. And as I mentioned before the start of the meeting, our planetarium is getting a new projector upgrade as well.
So we are a go-to meet over there this July.
Well, I'll check on it for you. I gotta verify. There's still a little skitterish. Our Fish Lake facility, we're just now getting it back to the point where we can get people to stay overnight. And that's probably the reason that camp had such issues, because getting around those hurdles has been pretty difficult when you got people staying overnight in close quarters like that. That's the problem. We ran into that issue with getting students back to our Fish Lake. And we'll see how that pans out this summer too.
Assuming we can meet over there, and I'm hoping we can, would you be willing to be our guest speaker, so to speak? We don't actually have a speaker for July.
Oh, okay. Well,
We
we'll look at it.
July.
Actually, on June 21st, I am speaking at the Headlands. It's our Cosmic Tuesday talk, and then we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of anti-jump cannon and the spectral classes. So after the talk, we're going to go out and show folks the beautiful summer sky with all the colorful stars.
Cool. So you're suggesting maybe you could do something like that?
Yeah, maybe carry it over.
Okay,
Repeat myself. And I'm sorry to announce that I signed up for another 5 years. I'm good on membership through 2027. So sorry about that, folks.
We're gonna let you go anyway, Nord. Might as well. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So it looks like we have July covered now. This has turned out to be a productive meeting. So anyway. Joy, who is still vice president, actually technically until this meeting is over, is not here tonight, so she is not going to be giving us a report. But Adrian is.
Yeah, and I have nothing further to report other than, well, I guess you could put available for more talks if necessary. I have one on Bortle Sky presentation that's pretty quick, but shows, since I was finally able to get to a Bortle 1 site, I had to add that to the presentation. I had Bortle 7 to Bortle 2, skipped one, and then now I have Bortle 1. So if necessary, I can do a quick one of those.
Cool. It's always nice to have something like that in our pocket. So appreciate
So I
it.
do have a report. I have another talk prepared if we need one.
Cool. Also Liz, who is again technically vice president till the end. I mean, she is not here tonight. However, she did send an email out earlier to the officers group as what she calls her final report as VP. And so I'm going to go ahead and read that. Good early evening, everyone. Please accept my final report as VP. Want to recognize and commend Dorian Jungle. Hang on a second, I'm going to time out. Who went literally the extra several miles to make an RASC rendezvous in Pontiac back during the RASC distribution. She's talking about the calendars and books. That was wonderfully well done. I pitched Gary Peters as a possible future speaker. Professor Crane here at the law school hasn't gotten back to me. That's the life of a law professor, I'm afraid. It was delightful to work for you, Doug Scoble, our treasurer. Live long and prosper, Doug. I want to thank everyone for their support over the last year of my VP tenure, and want to note that one aspect of that tenure remains unsatisfied. I owe the officers a rounded pizza house, especially Adrian. When campus clears for the summer and we can reasonably safely meet indoors at a public house, I will make good on this outstanding obligation. Until then, clear skies, Liz Calhoun. Thank you, Liz.
I accept. We'll see what the summer brings.
Yep.
Great majority of the
Also,
public is already. given
Doug,
up
who, as I
already.
mentioned earlier, has made the trip from Florida back to Traverse City. But he did send me an email actually tonight that I think he thought he was going to be able to attend by Zoom, but couldn't. So he also has sent in his report. And that is let's see, I will not be attending tonight's meeting in person or via Zoom. Because I will not be present, I am pretty much assured that I'll be reelected as treasurer as a demonstration of my point for another year, but you never know. We have 178 memberships, I think is a high watermark. The count also includes 14 memberships that would have expired, but for grace extended due to COVID-19 pandemic considerations. We have, brace yourself, $12,891.80 in the treasury. Since our March meeting, we spent $50.08 for printing and mailing the paper copies of the March and April newsletters. We spent $30.80 for our AT&T open house hotline for March and April. We mailed a low profile cap to March speaker Adrian Bradley. We sold 2 low profile caps to a member. Coming up this month, we need to pay for our post office box, which somebody had mentioned earlier, which is, believe it or not, $182 a year. They hit us with a big increase, at least last year, maybe even 2 years in a row. So that's why we're getting a little concerned about that. But
Yeah, it was when you paid for it.
and also he is coming up also is the sponsorship for the Clear Sky chart for Peach Mountain, which costs us $60 a year. And he has to e-file our annual federal e-postcard. And that's what Doug had to submit. So with that, that brings me to Jeff.
Tonight's attendance, got really nothing new, but tonight's attendance maxed out at 12 people in Zoom, or 14 people in Zoom, 12 people here. So we're kind of starting to even out.
Actually, I think I count 13 here.
It was 14 peak before,
Oh, I thought you said 14 Zoom,
14 Zoom, yes.
but 13 here. Maybe I didn't hear you right.
Is it
Well,
13?
remember, you're counting yourself twice, Jeff, because you're on Zoom.
Oh, well, then we're up to 15 because we can count you twice.
Yeah. And the room is one, so Zoom.
No, there's,
But Joe and I should count as 2.
Well, then,
oh, you're right.
yes, so 2,
Sorry, I got my columns mixed up.
7. I have 12 in Zoom, counting Joe twice.
We're up to
Joe and
13 at
Pam.
one point.
Columns mixed up, sorry, guys.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not counting you twice. You're inflating. the
Anyway,
numbers.
whatever the numbers are, Jeff's gonna send them in the minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
They'll be in the minutes and we'll
Yeah.
have the pipe, the next chart. in the
Yeah.
newsletter.
I thought I saw 13 and 13, but you know, somebody wants. to-
There'll be a standard deviation of about 2.5
There you
on
go.
the numbers.
So, anything else, Jeff?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, that was quick.
Yep.
Jack,
Well, as for the observatory on the second.
oh, don't give me that.
Probably pull mine out.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. That must be you right here. Wait,
Did you pull mine out or?
I'm gonna check first. No, I pulled mine. It's not letting me. Hello? It is your stick right there, right? The
Nope.
highlighted one?
That's not mine.
Oh, it's this one. Yeah. Okay. That would explain it.
I don't pay attention to
I
what
thought he
Windows
had-
tells me.
Power.
Oh, okay. Well, then that was rude. This wasn't.
Oh, you know what? I think my presentation was not closed.
I know that's what Jeff was just saying. Well, you have a back.
Yeah.
Do the one that says DTTETOBS. There it is.
That's how I treat electronics. Force it to see my reality.
So now here.
Bad leg. While we're getting this together,
Okay.
there's I don't know if Pizza House is an option for most of you, 'cause, I can assure you that a lot of restaurants have pitched the whole idea of some will mask most of the staff.
Okay. What you see right now on the screen is the Detroit Observatory. I was out there for the opening last weekend. And this first picture here we're showing is 12-inch Fitz refractor. And it was raining and drizzling that night. So yeah, you can see the dome was closed. I just took a couple pictures. This picture and you see, you move to the next picture. There should be two of them there. Yeah. I might have to scroll them down or, yeah.
I can go.
Yeah, that's the bottom half, the observing. Yep. It's all been cleaned and taken care of and a lot of rework. Okay.
Next one.
Yep, go to the next one. Now, a lot of people ask, how is this used or is controlled? This is still done mechanically. It's not electronically. So, and as you can see the counterweights on the side, you can see the mechanical drive system, and that's still functioning. And that's kind of interesting because you won't see that on most observatories today are all electronic. So this is give you a little idea of what the old mechanical type looked like. in that.
Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, those. Block drive.
That, yes. The weights on the bottom, like Charlie said, are what's running the clock drive. So you look at those weights, they pull it down, and those gears will rotate. There's another series up there that rotate. Then you adjust those, and when you get your timing right, and then you track pretty good. But we haven't used one of those in a long time.
I was actually trained on running this scope at one time, and it's actually fairly complicated. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
The McMath for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. the mo-
I call it a
all
cuckoo
electronic.
clock drive.
Yeah.
Joe and Shannon, are you still involved in that?
Not as much as we were. So we did a bunch of training with the new assistant director in fall and early winter. So at this point, they've hired a group of docents and they don't really need volunteers anymore.
Wow.
So we're still available, but not as needed.
Yeah, they must have a pile of money to be hiring a group of people to show folks around.
Well, so it's become really hard to get volunteers, true volunteers to do things. So, I mean, we even pay people for Angel Hall now, except for the Student Astronomical Society nights. And I'm now having trouble paying people to come work the telescope at Angel Hall.
All right.
But the Detroit Observatory is exciting and new. So they have quite a few, they're student docents.
Okay.
Well, for
And
$5
they've actually got
an
two groups. They've got the groups that are trained telescope operators, and they've got the group that are trained in the history of the building and the university.
So did you catch that, Shannon? Adrian said he'd do it for $5 a night.
$5
That's
a night.
I don't know how he's gonna have time. Because he's
Hey,
driving.
we offered to do it for free, but
You gotta pay someone. I'll take $5 a night. Yeah, I'll go aim it at a planet because there won't be much else able to see over the nebulous skies of Ann Arbor.
It does an okay job on the Ring Nebula, but yeah, clusters and planets are the best targets.
That works just fine.
Yep.
Unless we throw,
Okay. No, observatory's okay. Maintenance is continued on the observatory, so we're doing good.
I see no other officers and or live, unless one of the new officers has anything that they would like to say.
Charlie.
Yes. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, you brought up earlier the officers discussing how to operate out at Peach Mountain, both for member nights and public open houses. The member nights, I think, we will figure out, but public open houses, there may be people that want to do them, and thing about public open houses, it does take a crew to have a successful open house. Even without the virus, it takes 3, 4, 5 people to really make it happen, plus members out there with their scopes. So I've tried to emphasize this in the past, that if people want to have public open houses, they have to say, I will work, and give the club an idea of when they will work. The open houses are the dark of the moon Saturday nights, and they're pretty easy to figure out. I think we might even have published them once or twice. So if we are going to have public open houses and people want to have them, they have to step up. We just can't put a notice in the Observer and on our website that we're doing it if we don't have a reasonable expectation the members are going to support it.
Well, Jim, this is John Walbank. I will be an open house coordinator whenever it's possible, whenever I don't have a conflict, and I don't see any conflicts in my schedule. So I will volunteer as an open house coordinator whenever we are able to resume those.
And I've also said that I can be thrown in the rotation too, so. But Jim is absolutely right. We need several people to do those public open houses. A real bad scenario is if we schedule one, it looks like it does happen, and we have a big crowd show up and there's 2 or 3 people to try to run it, that can be very stressful for those 2 or 3 people. So,
Well, especially given that we have to come up with some protocols concerning the virus.
yeah, that's
Um,
actually going to add to it. You're right, Jim. Yep.
And that's something we have to figure out as well.
Yep. Yeah. That I think will be our first duty as the new officer crew. So, Dave.
Yeah. The planetarium at the Museum of Natural History has been open for a while. Now, Charlie and me got an email from Amy Harris a while back about the new planetarium director, Buddy Stark. I don't know if you've done anything with that or.
I think I had just like a welcome aboard sort of email exchange with him.
Yeah.
He, I think, was going to reach out to us about doing something over there, but then heard anything since. I'm kind of guessing or something.
Yeah.
Charlie, if I may, regarding the planetarium. Yeah, Buddy, I'll probably be meeting him next week, and chatting with him. The state meeting of the Great Lakes Planetarium Association is meeting there on the 21st of May, which is Saturday. It's sort of a club kind of thing, the group, you have to be a member, I guess, or there'll be others, but the state planetarium directors and associates and stuff will be meeting at U of M for that. So that's forthcoming. And I want to encourage people too, if they're out and about in their travels this summer, if you don't attend a planetarium, at least promote it in your circles, if you don't mind. They probably could use the reboot boost, if you will, in promoting the planetariums again here in the state. We got a lot of good ones.
So it was a few years back, we met over at the museum, and then Matt Lenke ran that. So Matt retired in August.
Yeah, he's now retired and down in Adrian, living there, and he's somewhat involved with the Adrian College Planetarium. I have my connections there.
Yeah.
It's cool. So anyway, it's an option we can consider.
I never heard it so quiet in my life.
Well, Charlie, in order to break the silence here, regarding open houses, I'm at 6s and 7s on public, meetings, even outdoors. But do we have a lively or an active discussion about prospective open houses in the future, whether they're for the club only or for the public?
No, what our thinking was is we were going to start out by doing some undetermined amount of members events. I don't think it's going to be a bunch. That would be members only. There were 2 reasons for that. One is we think the membership deserves it. To give us a chance to absorb some photons that we haven't done for a while, in a meeting where we can be around some other people, but yet at the same time, we're not dosed with the public right off the bat either. And that during kind of see how that goes and work out whatever procedure or format that we would use to move into public events. So
Charlie, could that be members and invited guests?
Thanks, because that was the intent. Yes, is members and invited guests. Yep, absolutely. So we're going to pull that together, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe we could get that underway next month.
I would propose maybe if we get an officers meeting together, maybe that would be a good forum to have the big discussion and invite John's president of GLAC, and any we're doing could, as GLAC, we could use it to say, okay, this may be something that we may adopt, even though it's further along in the summer. Maybe I wouldn't mind having John's input there
as Clark president. Good idea. Anything else?
Charlie, is anything being done? Is it sort of a one by one thing for the total lunar eclipse on Sunday, May 15th, the evening of?
Yeah, I'm both. On that one, or. I'm going both. I'm going.
I'm just hearing broken conversation there. I plan to have the deck of Scherzer Observatory open, but we'll have to keep an eye on numbers. And in the dome, we have to have masks on, but out on the deck, it's a little more open.
Scherzer Observatory. Yeah, at this point, Norb, that might be the main thing that we recommend if, for gathering, other than just getting out there and looking at it, and don't do what I did, which was agree to do anything else at all but look at the lunar eclipse. So hopefully it's not cloudy wherever you are.
Yeah.
But I would say, Norb, why don't you put it out there that if you'll have some observing at Scherzer Observatory, that would be one place we could go. I don't know that we're going to do anything special for it. I mean, I know that people will ask that we come across, or they'll send something to ask the Lowbrows, are you doing anything special? So Norb, if you don't mind us sending them your way, we can do that. If you're worried about numbers, then we won't.
Yeah, I wouldn't at this point, but I put it out to the Lowbrows because you guys are always welcome to stop over. But we start
Okay.
getting the general public up there, it's liable to
It
get a
gets
little
ugly. Yep.
Yeah. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm being a little cautious about that. But yeah, sure, I'd welcome, some
Well,
of you
then
if you're in the
we'll
vicinity.
consider that something for the membership.
So
Yeah.
And we're
Norbert,
not gonna,
May 21st, I heard.
May 16th.
May 15th.
May
It's the night
15th.
of. It's a Sunday
Yeah.
night.
Bowling anyway, I don't.
The UT
care.
time puts it on the 16th. It's one of those confusing eclipses because it's best right around
Yeah.
midnight on Sunday night.
right.
But it should be a nice
yeah.
deep eclipse. So if you're just out and about, don't forget about it. if it's clear.
Norbert, when will you be open? that
Well,
night?
Obviously as soon as it gets dark, but we're approaching solstice, so it's not dark until 9:30, 10 o'clock by then. So just a few
Well,
hours short.
Yeah, I told Amy I'd put something together about the eclipse for the newsletter. So if you could just say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, that's what
I would
write
say
down.
10 o'clock then.
Okay,
But the main event doesn't get going until really in earnest until about 11:30, and it's
Right.
mid eclipse shortly after midnight.
yeah,
And it'll be cloudy that night, of course.
well, then
Yeah,
then
and I'll
you won't
be-
have a problem with the hordes, will you?
No.
Yeah, I'm scheduled to be on the lanes at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, which is
Okay.
9:30 p.m. where I really will be. So, I'm out in.
And just save the day, since he's gonna have a problem being stuck inside, maybe it'll be clear after.
Yeah, I think it's going to be clear because,
Yeah. Thank you, Adrian.
yeah,
Yes.
taking one for the team. That's what I do. That's my job.
No, we'll likely get people showing up even if it's cloudy out because they just don't understand the concept of clouds and clear.
Right. Oh, then you might get lucky. It might peer through the clouds. You've got how long is totality? It's like an hour?
Yeah, it's a fairly long one and fairly deep.
I won't be through game 2 before then.
So are you gonna have any of the telescopes running that night, Norbert?
Oh yeah, well, the ones on the deck, we've got several Celestron, Celestron 8s to 925s up on the deck, and they're more than adequate for doing the job of general public
Sure.
observation.
What do you think about having some lowbrows? We could say Leslie Park and have some lowbrows in the area who want to see it together. Maybe go up to Leslie Park on the hill there.
That's a notion because it's outside. That'd be okay.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good view from there to where the eclipse is gonna be, so. Yeah, Leslie Park could work well.
I would, I'd be glad to do Leslie Park.
Only problem you may have there is general public. I don't know if they're gonna.
Yeah.
Remember when we had a general public issue, pandemic had just started.
Yeah, I don't think this would draw that big a crowd, but
Night,
Yeah, if it was earlier in the evening, it would be different, but we're talking about midnight. When
Yeah.
people have to work and go to school the next day, so.
Yep.
anyway, I would go to Leslie Park if some people were going there.
bowling alley, like. By the time.
Does anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have support? Or in favor? Aye. Is anybody opposed? Wouldn't have listened to you anyway. Good night, everybody.
And
Take care.
congratulations
Good
to
night.
the officer.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone. Wonderful meeting.
yeah. Everybody have a nice Easter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Easter and Passover.
Yes.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
happening.
Because that's a pretty good unit.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, well,